Vice President Harris, in her interview with CNN last night, said she would put a Republican in the cabinet. Do you and Donald Trump commit to putting a Democrat in the cabinet if you're elected?
Yeah, it's going to be RFK, Tulsi. It's going to be all the worst people you know.
Yeah, of course, John. And we've got Democrats who are actively on the team. Tulsi Gabbard, who ran against Kamala Harris in the 2020 Democrat primary. RFK Jr. These guys have all come on board the Donald Trump ticket. And why have they done that, John? Because our party is the party of common sense. We don't agree on everything. We may disagree about tax policy or environmental policy, but we think we should have a closed border. We think American families should be able to afford housing and food, and we want calm and peace all over the world, not the world in constant conflict that Kamala Harris has delivered. So we've got a great big ticket with Democrats, Republicans, and independents on the Donald Trump team, and we're going to keep on running that way, and then we're going to govern that way when we win.
You cited
The best thing about political parties, you're allowed to just say you're a part of it. So Elon Musk was a Democrat, Donald Trump was a Democrat, Tulsi was. Tulsi went from endorsing and being on Bernie's team to endorsing Biden over Bernie, to endorsing Trump over Biden, and endorsing Trump over Harris. So it just shows that all of these individuals are really unstable.
Robert Kennedy Jr. What role could you see him playing in a Trump administration? What cabinet position?
Oh, RFK, you disagree on some policy, such as, did 9/11 happen? Was it an inside job? Do vaccines cause autism? Are vaccines bioweapons? Do you agree with RFK's policy to give every American 3 organic meals a day paid for by the government? Yeah, just simple, normal disagreements that everyone has.
Well, I don't want to commit Bobby to anything, but look, he's a very, very smart guy. He's got a lot of interesting ideas about why do we have an obesity epidemic in our country? What is going on with our food system? How can we better ensure that Americans are living healthy lives? So I hope that Bobby plays some role in answering some of the big questions, and we'll see what that looks like. Of course, he's joined the transition team where I serve as the honorary chair. We're going to work with everybody. Again, we don't have to agree on every issue, John, but what I love about President Trump's campaign is that we're talking to everybody. We're going everywhere, and we're trying to persuade the American people that we can win with this big tent party and we can govern effectively.
Would you trust Robert Kennedy on issues around vaccines? Could you see him involved with health policy that way?
Well, look, again, John, I don't agree with Robert Kennedy. I don't agree with Bobby on everything. I've gotten to know him. I think he's a very smart guy. But again, while I might not agree with him on everything about vaccines, I do agree with him that something is clearly messed up about our food system because we have a terrible obesity problem. And I certainly agree with him back in 2020 that we should not be masking toddlers and keeping young children out of schools. He was right about that, while a lot of public health experts were wrong. And this is my point, John, is you don't have to agree with everybody, but when you're willing to listen to big voices and you're not trying to censor people, but you're trying to have a debate with people, I think it surfaces the best policy and allows the best ideas to rise to the top.
They lie about literally everything, by the way. So Tulsi, Trump, Vance, they will say anything that sounds popular. This is what Mussolini did in fascist Italy. They will say anything that sounds popular. They have no beliefs, no principles. That's why Donald Trump is now pro-mandating insurers to provide IVF. He's pro-mandating that. He is against an abortion ban in Florida for abortions over 6 weeks. Donald Trump is now pro-child tax credit. They will say anything that they think will allow them to be elected.
So Vice President Harris in the interview last night says she'd like to see a culture shift, not based on you beating people down, a politics where you beat people down, but a politics where you lift people up. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the idea of lifting people up in politics?
Look, I think it's a great idea, John. The problem is that Kamala Harris hasn't governed like that during her 3.5 years as vice president. If she wants to tackle the affordability crisis, if she wants to lift people up and inspire this country, why hasn't she done it for the last 3.5 years? I think most Americans think that we're on the wrong track. I think what Donald Trump really believes is the way to lift people up is to open the country to all voices, to not try to censor people that you disagree with, to have a conversation with somebody rather than try to shut them up. We have to remember back in 2019, Kamala Harris wanted to kick Donald Trump off of all social media. We believe in debating and having a conversation with our fellow Americans.
Yeah, because Donald Trump was spreading a conspiracy theory and leading a riot on the Capitol in order to attempt his coup to insurrect against the United States government. That's why we wanted him off social media for the time being. It probably helped him in the long run because everyone didn't see how insane he was getting. But that was to prevent more violence. That was the point of that. It wasn't about restricting free debate.
Agree or disagree, that's how you lift this country up, not by shutting.
By the way, Donald Trump, the same person who wants to put journalists in jail, and the same person who, if you have a tough interview with him, he will literally leave. That's why no interviewers go tough on Donald Trump anymore. Because if you ask Trump any follow-up questions or real questions or hold him to anything, he will literally storm out of the interview like a baby, or like someone losing a game of Madden on Xbox or PlayStation who shuts the system down when they realize they're going to lose.
Shutting people down, making life unaffordable for their families.
You were talking about Donald Trump's social media. Would you describe his posts over the last 48 hours as lifting people up, quoting, reposting QAnon statements, reposting these misogynistic memes about Vice President Harris and Hillary Clinton? That's the kind of open discussion that you think is lifting people up?
Oh, John, I think if you look at Donald Trump's full campaign appearances and, yes, his social media appearances, what you see is two things. A guy with an agenda to lower prices and bring back American prosperity, and a political candidate who isn't stodgy, who likes to have some fun and likes to tell some jokes. I'd much rather have a candidate who's willing to go off script, who's willing to give every interview, and is willing to tell.
There's no way. Everyone cried about white guy tacos just a week ago. And we all said, why are you crying about this? You've said the worst, most offensive things in human history in the past 8 years. And a week later, Donald Trump is posting memes saying that Kamala Harris is only where she is because she gives oral sex as favors to get employment opportunities and promotions. And that is supposed to be a fun little joke we just laugh about because, of course, we don't ever get to look at reality in any way. Like, it's so offensive if we make a white guy taco joke. I don't get how, that's anti-white racism, actually. That's not even just offensive or funny. White guy tacos is anti-white racism. But this is not... Oh my, it's like they're fighting sexism with more sexism. Like they're trying to prove they're not sexist by like being like, hey, I'm not sexist, but because if I was sexist, here's what I would say if I was.
Tell some jokes. I do think that's how you lift people up. A politics of boring scolds telling people they can't laugh, that is not lifting Americans up. That's how to tear us down.
All right, fun and jokes. Last night, after CNN released a small clip of the Harris interview, you on Twitter posted a clip from a Miss Teen USA beauty pageant from 2007, Caitlin Upton, and you wrote, I have gotten a hold of the full Kamala Harris CNN interview. Now, this thing that surfaced around the internet for a few years, she struggled answering a question back in this beauty pageant. I'm not sure you're aware, in 2015, Caitlin Upton did an interview with New York Magazine about all the social media attention this clip got, and she said, I definitely went through a period where I was very, very depressed, but I never let anybody see that stuff except for people I could trust. I had some very dark moments where I thought about committing suicide. So when you posted this last night...
Look at JD Vance's face. I don't know if he has the ability to show emotion properly.
Were you aware that the woman you were posting a picture of had contemplated committing suicide for the attention it received?
No, certainly not, John, and my heart goes out to her, and I hope that she's doing well. Look, I've said a lot of things on camera. I've said a lot of stupid things on camera. Sometimes when you're in the public eye, you make mistakes, and again, I think the best way to deal with it is to laugh at ourselves, laugh at this stuff, and try to have some fun in politics. I posted a meme from 20 years ago, and I think the fact that we're talking about that instead of the fact that American families can't afford groceries or health care, young families can't afford to buy a home to raise their families in, those are the real crises that we should focus on. And there's nothing that says that we can't tell some jokes along the way while we deal with the very serious business of bringing back our public policy. Politics has gotten way too lame, John, way too boring. You can have some fun while making a good argument to the American people about how you're going to improve their lives.
I want to know the good argument because all the policies so far about inflation, they literally just say they're going to decrease prices. And there's zero actual plan to do that other than cut taxes for corporations, remove regulations for corporations for billionaires. We can help billionaires And also, we're going to drill, baby, drill. Although the U.S. right now is drilling a record amount of gas and oil. We are leading the world in gas and oil. Drill, baby, drill also won't lower prices. These are such bad arguments. They're not even worth refuting, but we need to because many people believe them. But as JD Vance is talking about, we need more laughter in politics. They literally just went on a campaign the past 2 months saying why Kamala Harris laughing is a bad thing. Her laugh is a negative thing. That was an entire 2 weeks when Kamala was announced because they did not know how to attack her. Her being happy and joyful was the main attack. And now, like, the hypocrisy is so clear with them.
Okay, I just want to be clear, though. You said you did know. Would you like to apologize to Caitlin Upton for posting that last night, given what you've now learned?
John, I'm not going to apologize for posting a joke, but I wish the best for Caitlin. I hope that she's doing well. And again, what I'd say is one bad moment shouldn't define anybody, and the best way to deal with this stuff is to laugh at ourselves.
Last night, Vice President Harris was asked about the Middle East and the situation in Israel. She said that she supports Israel's right to defend itself, but she also talked about a two-state solution there. How do you feel about the future possibilities for a two-state solution?
Wait a second. Okay, so when we talk about the economy, it's death, destruction, 1929 Great Depression, World War III, America's gonna die, immigrants are poisoning the blood of America, you can't walk outside in America without being murdered and raped. That's what happens when we talk about real issues. But you say something blatantly sexist, misogynist, racist, whatever it might be. When it's white guy tacos with Tim Walz, which was harmless, a fun little cute joke, that was anti-white racism as well. That was the end of the world. But you say your vulgar, disgusting, actually like derogatory and discriminatory jokes, and it's just like peace, love, and positivity. You sound like Logic all of a sudden. That's wild.